Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonfireTools.com. Industrial workbenches with integrated tool storage. And brought to you by PaintedAutoBodyParts.com, the leading U.S. auto body parts online store. Alcan Spring, the finest handcrafted leaf springs on the planet. And by Custom Auto Sound, the originator of classic car OEM fit radio since 1977.
This is Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonfireTools.com. Now, if you are restoring or building a classic vehicle, you know the foundation is the most important thing, and that foundation is the chassis. And Anthony, you find once people start working on an old vehicle, what do they find when they pull the skin away and take a look at the chassis?
Well, the chassis, a lot of these older ones are rusted and need repair of some kind. We started out building front and rear suspensions that could be added to, say, like a 1950 model vehicle. And as we got into them, we found out that they were rusted. And I started designing a complete chassis that would use our front and rear suspension in it, so we could upgrade the front to better braking, better handling. So we converted it to a front steer rack and pinion. We can use late model Mustang brakes from 94 all the way up to 2014 Mustang brakes. There are options that we can do either one of them on this chassis. So we can go from 11 to a 14-inch rotor factory style brake on these, or any of the aftermarket brakes for them.
Now, a chassis from AJE Suspension is super adaptable. It's also very strong and it's lightweight. How do you make it so strong and still keep the weight off?
Well, we keep a 6-inch cross-sectional width on the vertical section of the frame, and we can change this 2-inch tube to adapt different cab mounts and different wheelbases and things like that come into play for the different chassis that we're doing.
So what do folks need to tell you when they're doing a build or restoring a truck?
Well, mainly we need to know the year, then options that they're wanting, what engine, what kind of brakes, and just basic information of what they're going to want to end up with.
There's a lot of things you do at AJE Suspension that are unique, and one of the things I really love is you're using a lot of parts that folks can get at an auto parts store, so they don't have to go get a specialty part from you should something break or they get in an accident or something like that.
Correct. I mean, the main thing is that we use a hub from a 94 to 04 Mustang, and so that way we can adapt from the 11 to 13-inch brakes the way it comes. If you want to do an option to do the 14-inch brakes from a 2015 Mustang, we have a system for that also. But we use Mustang lower ball joints and we use Chrysler screw-in ball joints for the uppers. So anything that might wear or break is easily gotten from your auto parts stores.
And there's a unique design here. I haven't seen suspension that's quite laid out like this. So tell me about some of the special features you have here, especially to make it adjustable. Okay,
one of the things that we do on our upper control arm, we use a jack screw here, so they're left and right-handed threads, so they're easy to adjust camber on them. We use a Fox body style rack, and we can do a power or manual, but we put an extension on the passenger side to extend it out, but we keep the steering shaft over close to the frame rail, so you get a little bit more exhaust clearance and things like that.
And you make it super easy to mount any motor that folks might want to use.
Correct. We use our own engine mounting system, and we have mounts where you can put a new Godzilla, a Coyote, EcoBoost, LS, 3rd Gen Hemis, so we can mount just about anything you want with this chassis.
And we talked about rigidity here. Let's take a look at the X bracing that you have here. This is a unique design, very cool.
It's our own design, and then we do a safety loop on it, so your drive shaft runs through there, and if you have a U-joint problem or anything, it will keep it from hitting the ground.
And rigidity is super important when it comes to the rear end. You want to make sure you don't have any twisting back there.
We use a triangulated 4-link similar to what's in the Fox bodies and the SN95 Mustangs, but we convert it to a coilover rear shock, and we have adjustable uppers so we can do different pinion angles, we can change ride heights. We do an anti-roll bar that we mount underneath it, so that helps handling. And with the coilover rear shocks, we can change spring rates, so if you want to put a little bit of weight in the bed, we can.
We mentioned the adaptability here of the chassis. How many different models of trucks do you deal with?
Our Ford line, we do 48 through 96. So the earlier ones were straight axles, the later ones were twin I-beams, but we can adapt to either one of them. Then in the Dodges, we can do 48 through 93 on those. And then we're 48 to 59 on the Chevrolet truck chassis.
Now, I know folks are restoring trucks more and more these days, but your bread and butter is the classic Mustang, and this is where it kind of started for AJE Suspension about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So tell me about this K-member and what makes it special.
Well, we started building these K-members back in the mid-90s. They've had a couple changes over the years, but our biggest difference between ours and everybody else's is our engine mounting system. So if you want to put the 2300 4-cylinder in it, all we have to do is change the engine mounting plates. The K-member stays the same.
And the mounting plate is also something that makes this really easy to install. It makes it stronger as well.
One of the differences in ours and some of the other ones is this hole right here is the one that locates the K-member. This one squares it up in the car. That's the way they were done as they went down the assembly line. So this actually bolts in and is square as long as your car is right.
Now, it's not just this era of Mustang. You also make for every era except for the Mustang 2 and also for a lot of other big 3 models. So if you got a classic car or truck, AJE Suspension is the place to go, AJEsuspension.com. Lots of places to find them on the web, and they've got something for you if you have a classic vehicle. We have hit the finish line for this edition of Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonfireTools.com. We'll do it again next week, same time, same sandbox, and streaming just about everywhere. Thanks for tuning in. Drive safely.